11th grade boys. It has been a long and a hard year. In addition to the usual rigors and difficulties of 11th grade, you have had to step up and tackle the next level of humane letters, language, physics, mathematics, music, all without having the benefits of finishing out 10th grade in person. This was an easy year to let things slide, to make excuses for oneself, to give up. The temptation at times was nearly overwhelming. And even if you did not give up, did not let things slide, it was so hard to look up from the labor of your hands, hearts, and intellects and see the importance and the purpose of your work here, to have vision. It was so easy to get lost in the shadows and to confuse them for reality. It was always a good question to ask ourselves, have I lost sight? Well, when I asked your teachers if you had lost sight, they told me that in Greek, you produced a translation of an excerpt from Euripides' Medea that was not only highly accurate, but also reflective of many of the subtleties of the Greek language. Mr. Morgan described it simply as beautiful. He goes on to describe you yourselves as confident in the face of demanding texts and ascribed to your conduct aplomb, grace, and verve. You amaze with your creative energy. When COVID forced you into separation outside, you took the tools available to you, in this case your school-provided seating pads, and turned them into an obstacle course for the first MacLaren Olympics. And though I have not read it, I hear word of poetry you have written that blurs the lines between patriotic anthem and holy psalm, dedicated to the honor of a certain porcine individual from the internet. Ms. Maslow is grateful for how gracious you were, even while dealing with COVID, switching up teachers, combining for humane letters mid-year, and being quarantined multiple times. She is impressed that after almost a full quarter of either you or your teachers being quarantined, you nevertheless came back to school ready to work. You even had the wherewithal to express gratitude for the opportunities to learn and to go over those concepts you had encountered in quarantine. You came alive when she gave you problems, particularly those that required applying mathematics to concrete situations. And in the midst of trying to figure out how to approach these problems, you learned to listen and respond well to each other's ideas. You showed determination. In French, after having no instruction since quarantine last spring, you faced many challenges starting French 2, but you came to class each day determined to overcome your perplexity and to increase your fluency in the language. Ms. Kimliko says that you strove to speak as much French as possible in the classroom, asked persistent questions in class and in the online classroom, and also found opportunities to be creative and humorous with the language. You cheered, sorrowed, marveled, and shrunk back in horror at the deeds and fates of Achilles, Patroclus, and Hector. You celebrated Athens' heroic victories at Marathon and Salamis, laughed about the political antics and maneuverings of Themistocles and Pericles, only to later question why you had done so as Plato peeled back the glamour and showed you the corruption it had spawned. You felt awe as you walked beside Socrates and Aristotle as they forced you to question everything, your lives, pursuits, loves, friendships, and you persevered. You questioned, you challenged, and sometimes for better, sometimes for worse, but always with energy and humor, fought every step of the way. There were many hijinks as you navigated the shores and shoals of what is appropriate and helpful humor and antics. There were days when that was difficult, but then there were days when I was on early morning cross guard duty. One of you walks across, says thank you, I respond, you're welcome, and you come back with, also, thank you for everything. You're teaching, like the respect that you give our class and in all of the things that you do with us. Oh my, I was in cross guard headspace. I don't know how to deal with it. I'm not crying, you're crying. You stepped up. And many of you participated in the Big Brother program here at school, It was lovely to see you walking around at the head of a long gaggle of younger students trailing you like little ducklings. And by all reports, you did very well. And you did not forget. When you heard Mr. Falcone was leaving next year, you wrote him an ode. And when the announcement came in assembly that Miss Harder would be leaving us, you all spontaneously stood up in unison out of respect, though she was not present in the room. So by the reports of your teachers, gentlemen, you did not lose sight. You created, you fought, you showed gratitude and kindness, you questioned, and you wondered. Well done.
Dear junior girls, yes, Betas, you guessed it, I am here to honor you today on behalf of all of your teachers. At the beginning of this year, you entered the classroom, split into cohorts, which meant for a class your size that there were only 5 or 6 of you in a room. For many of you, the people around you were not part of your close friend group, and the disappointment and anxiety that you were feeling had the effect of making your classes awkwardly quiet, and also had your teachers wondering what this year was going to be like. Yes, we do like it when you're quiet and well-behaved, but without your enthusiasm, your eager participation, and your fun-loving spirit, classes can really just be a drag. After the first couple of weeks of figuring out your new normal, you started to embrace the challenge. You found the perspective that perhaps these small sections could be a blessing. Oftentimes, the belonging and the community that we need is not what we would choose for ourselves. This year, each of you has experienced the benefit of new relationships and a sense of belonging as the members of your little community have journeyed through this unprecedented and crazy year. Each of your sections has become a little community that has consistently said to each member, you have a place, you are loved, you are wanted. When anyone in your class was feeling lost, or their life was too painful or too difficult, something we have all experienced at times this year, you, collectively and individually, wrapped yourselves around that person. You reminded them of their place, and you helped each other to thrive again. You recognize that friendships are a treasure, but that they're also a responsibility. You have become the friends who expose the great things in those around you. You characterize each other in a way that has literally left some of you turning around in circles while questioning what? Who? That person's in the room? Before recognizing that it was in fact you that was being referred to. The Betas drew and redrew their family tree many times this year. You've changed some of your names so that each generation started with the same letter, and each member has a future job, or 2, or more. You are our future, and based on your chosen professions, I really wonder if normal will ever be our reality again. Your professions include the crystal shop owner, a professional lion, baker of good cakes, librarian, teacher, Olympic swimmer, psychopath, depressed poet, sizzle, the professional frying pan, the fixer of another's mistakes, the professional whiner, W-H-I-N-E, whine, and a potato, with or without the E. But alas, your classroom is a no judgment zone, and many of your professions include food, so all will be fine. Both of your sections have various food obsessions. The alphas classify themselves as breakfast, lunch, dinner, brunch, or even a midnight snack, based on the time of day they were born. Why not eat hot Cheetos all day, every day? But no, you will never get me to try one. You feed each other. You feed and clothe the blow-up alien that occupies your friend's seat while she's quarantined. But most significantly, you use food to celebrate each other. Together, you have had a unique MacLaren experience. MATLAB is hard, and your experience left you with only about 40% of the regular instruction that all other MacLaren students have received. You persisted through tears, frustration, and even moments of intense satisfaction when your program finally worked, and many of you excelled. You have learned to take derivatives and integrals, and hopefully now you recognize the significance of slope. You were the first class to tackle radio plays and enthusiastically performed for people who could only watch you on a computer screen. Mr. Hansen proudly remembers that you asked him to give you Perseus when you desired a challenge. He thought that you would be getting a head start on the piece for next year, but instead, rising to a challenge you set for yourselves, you performed it on your Fine Arts Night video. He further says that you are consistently focused and intent when encountering new difficulties, and because of how you work, you have made excellent gains despite COVID. You take your academics seriously, and in a year where it could have been easy to make excuses, to fall behind, and to just not do the work, you dug in. You chose success. You chose to give it your all. Not only do you attend your mandatory Zooms, you also decided, as a quarantined class, to log in during Zoom office hours, just so that you could see each other that day, simply to say hi to each other and to your teachers. Although you do take your academics very seriously, you also love to have fun. Why not spend almost a week of your lunchtime coming up with the function and behavior dance, and then spend more time improving it? Yes, the projector should wear a purple hat. Yes, LMNOP could be the quote on the back of next year's Spirit shirt. You just need to wait and see if Mr. LeBady will actually approve that one. Sometimes you might just need to curl up into a ball and zip yourself into your fleece. But beware, another classmate might just pick you up and carry you around like that. You ask almost daily to go outside for class, and when your grumpy teacher says no, it's too cold, it's raining, it's snowing, or just no, you use your breaks to go outside and splash around in the puddles and to play. The joy on your faces when you do come back in is a good reminder of the significance of having fun, of doing those small things that can bring joy in a world where we are in so much need of it. This year, the most significant thing that I take away from having been your teacher is the ability to see the beauty of sacrifice in your friendships that has brought great joy to those around you, a joy that comes from your choice in pouring yourselves out for other people. My hope for you is that you continue to live by the words of Claude Thomas Bissell and risk more than others think is safe, care more than others think is wise, dream more than others think is practical, and expect more than others think is possible. Thank you, juniors, and congratulations.